Hello everyone, my name is Emily Artful and I am a watercolor artist from Omaha, Nebraska, and today I'm going to be showing you the push and pull technique. With watercolors, it's not simply just putting pigment to page. You've got your medium, which is your watercolors, and you have the vehicle for the medium, which is going to be the water. The best way to control water is with more water. So I'm going to demonstrate how to lay down a nice flat plane of color on your watercolor paper. Now obviously rule number one is to have good watercolor paper. Now Arteza makes a great 100% cotton watercolor paper. It's their expert watercolor pad and I highly recommend it. It's very durable, holds up, it holds a lot of water. I could probably do like 20 layers on it and not have it buckle on me. And obviously you want to have some pretty darn good paints. And I love these Arteza watercolor paints. They're just very good, highly pigmented paints. There's two different ways you can make a nice flat plane of color. If you're going to do a wet brush onto dry paper, and it's a large area, what you want to do is you want to lay down your pigment. I want you to watch. See how the pigment and the water balls up like this compared to here? There's quite a bit of pigment and water on this side, not as much on here. This is your lead. This is what you want to lead with. You're pushing the water. In this situation, you're using your wet brush, a wet brush, and dry paper. And you're using that wet brush to control your pigment load and your color load. And you are taking that where it's most pilled up here, and you're pushing that around. I'm gonna deepen this just a little bit in certain areas. Something I really love about the Arteza watercolors themselves is the color selection. They perform a lot like professional watercolors. They're just very vibrant and rich. Now over here I'm going to demonstrate the wet on wet technique, and that's another way that you can lay down a gradient or a flat wash. So I'm going to fill my space with some plain water. It's all going to be one color. Sometimes in order to see it, I will tint it to the color I'm going to be laying down just so I can have some visuals. And I'm keeping my space fairly wet here. See, I'm grabbing all the water and I'm creating a lead here. Take our lead and push it. Now I'm going to get a semi-wet brush and I am going to load it up with pigment. Now, look at that. Another really good quality about the Arteza watercolors is they have a nice, soft, diffused bloom. So I'm getting a fairly dry brush. There's lots of pigment here, and I'm just laying it into this wet circle. And I'm still pushing it. There's still some control here. This is a much more loose way to apply your color down because it's definitely going to take a mind of its own. If we want to turn this into a gradient, take some blue here. Now in this situation, I am just kind of letting the colors play together themselves. I'm helping a little. Take our lead. When you have a wash like this, a wet brush onto wet paper wash, the lead is less prominent because there's water everywhere. I'm gonna help it along like I kind of did down here. I'm just gonna dot, and if I get too much pigment, I'll pull it down. I see some water and some pigment pooling down here. I want to pick that up. I'm not gonna do this with this brush. This is a natural animal hair brush, so they're very, 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 very absorbent, so they're hard to get dry, so I'm gonna use my synthetic brush. You don't want to press too hard. When you're picking up excess water like this, you just want the tip of the brush, you want it to be nice and dry. Now as this wet on wet gradient dries, those colors will continue to mesh together until they are completely dry. So you end up with a pretty cool result.